Trebles. Very good to have you in. If you are in the chat, I can see a few already in there. Brendan Smith, Joe Wall. Evening, gents. If you are in the chat or you are watching live, do give us a little message. Always good to have you in live. We've got a bit of a new setup here. I'm hoping that you appreciate this. This was me fiddling around on the software, learning as we go. Hopefully it looks a bit smarter than usual. You'll notice that Mr. Derbyshire is back again. We haven't got him live on the video at the moment because he's flicking on and off of the Teams app to check his form to bring you the winners. And he brought you the winners again last week with another 10-point profit. Exceptional tipping again. So we've got him back on. Got a lovely little picture of him there with Leona Mayer there. Very topical. Mr. Smith also joined us from one of his hotel rooms that he frequents. So yeah, we've got all bases covered, we hope. We're going to just give a quick nod to York. Obviously, not a race card that Mr. Smith tends to cover in depth, certainly. Not one you'd be having a punt at there, Adam, really.
No, but to be honest, I've quite enjoyed being there with proper crowds, not a much better and busier crowds than Goodwood. But yeah, I've enjoyed being there in terms of, being quite relaxed, not having to worry about looking at the form or betting. And on Tuesday, or the first day, Wednesday, obviously, part of my job, I need to know what's going on in the races anyway. So, I had a quick look and there was 2 or 3 that I would have potentially backed, shortish prices, didn't, and they all got absolutely stuffed. So that just reaffirmed my stance that York, unfortunately for me and others, is a betting graveyard. So, I will continue my policy of no betting at York.
Okay, and it's time to welcome Mr. Stephen Derbyshire into the conversation. How are you finding York so far? How's your week going, SD?
Well, I've had minimal bets. They've been reasonable. It's all right. I mean, the fact the place, I can't stand the place, is now day another. I mean, I have to go there Saturday. It's so awful. Otherwise, I'd be doing 4 hours behind caravans at Sandown. So I have to go to York, but it isn't through choice, you understand.
Yeah, I do understand that. And you're on course as well, Smido, yeah, correct?
I'm just there for the first 3 days, so I'm not actually there Saturday, so I won't cross paths with my friend SD. But yeah, nice to know that SD's got a nice complimentary ticket for Saturday. I'm not sure where he got that from, but congratulations to him.
Won't elaborate any further on that one, of course. Going to sort of dive in.
Never paid to get in a race course.
Yeah, well, that's what you get on this channel, a lot of freebies getting dished around and sharing the love as well. But we'll dive in with the racing action for Saturday. As you can see, we are focusing on the 21st of August, a couple of days in advance. So do bear in mind, if you're watching the show retrospectively, then the prices may well have changed a little bit from what we're talking about. We have, Adam just mentioned it in the chat as well. We have been fiddling around with the sound a bit, so I'm hoping the sound quality is better this week. Do let us know if you can hear all parties. Hopefully you can. My software kind of indicates that you can, but until somebody says I won't really settle down. But anyway, in the meantime, we'll crack on with the first race. Adam has very kindly sent me a thumb up from Joe Wall, which suggests to me that the sound is better this week. And we start with York, the 150, which is the Sky Bet and Symphony Group Solario Stakes, a Group 3. Currently 7 runners, so not much of an each-way angle. Who wants to start us off with this one? I think I'm going to go to Mr. Derbyshire, given Adam doesn't really care for York.
Great, thanks. Look, you've got a nice, you've got a favourite that everybody's going to be eulogising over in this real world. Now, whilst we can crab his form a little bit last time. I mean, the horse he beat Derab, then finished last in France. Solid Stone is, solid, but just not that good. And there's a potential. It's a pity there's not 8 runners, but that's a hand we've been dealt. And I thought there was the potential for 2 bets in this race. Now, the first one is Lord Glitters, who I am fairly convinced is better at just over a mile. So this is damn near 9 furlongs. I think that will suit. Look, he's a very good horse. There's a bit of rain about maybe on Saturday. I'll come on to the weather in a bit. And at 10 to 1 or 12 to 1, he's a sort of horse I'd be interested in against this side bin Sir talking horse. Just a nod for Bell Rock as well. Now, you could say he's a lot better on the rolling mile, but his record with a decent break is very, very good. Now, coincidentally, that's all come at Newmarket. But give the horse a few months off, and he's had 2 months off since finishing last in the Hunt Cup at Ascot, and he's got a good a chance as anything at the rating. So if I was, and I will play the race, we've got to take the Jolly on. I'll take my Oberon on, and I'll back Bell Rock at 16s and Lord Glitters at 10. How's that?
Yeah, I like it. I like the angle. Obviously, it is a shame with the each-way play not really being a factor, but yeah, I think definitely worth taking this one on. Adam, I'm guessing you haven't really got any strong opinions on this York, so shall I just skip straight through to Sandown for you?
I would say the problem is I do like Lord Glitters as a horse. He's actually won a Group 1 by name, but not by nature this season over this intermediate trip of 9 furlongs. It is the perfect trip for him. But the problem Lord Glitters has got is that he's rated 115 officially by the British handicapper. Real World's rated 116 officially, but yet Lord Glitters, due to that apparent Group 1 win at Maidan earlier this season, has to carry £7 more than his younger rival, the Real World. That makes things very, very difficult for Lord Glitters, carrying more weight than every other horse in this field. Difficult one for him. No opinion, but it does, we're going to find out. This is another little step up for Real World. He's sluiced in a handicap at Royal Ascot. He's then won a listed race with questionable ball form, as SD has said. Now he's stepping up to Group 3, so we're going to find out how good he may be.
Yeah, so 2 selections from SD. Lord Glitters at 10, Bell Rock at 16, currently available. Can I just put it to you, SD, just while we're on this race, Real World, 11 to 8 currently. Where do you see that price going? In what kind of direction? Do you think it can get shorter than that?
Well, I hope it does, because then the others drift, don't they? I don't know. You'd be a brave man to back the thing at even money, given the way that Newbury run's working out. It is a step up for the horse, and I would rather be a layer than a backer at anything. I'd have him 13 to 8, 7 to 4, but that's just me. The Saturday punters who like to drink dark fruit cider will no doubt absolutely pile in on this thing. So I honestly don't.
Yeah, well, that's the kind of insight you get on this channel. Let's move it over to Sandown, where I'm hoping Adam's going to have a few stronger opinions, certainly. And we start with the Solario Stakes, which is another 7-runner field, so another each-way angle kind of obliterated. But I'm sure, well, you'll certainly have an opinion one way or the other on Reach for the Moon, which is currently a best price 4 to 6. Adam, do you want to start on this one?
Yeah, Reach for the Moon has had his form boosted in the last few hours, actually, Pieman, by a horse called Harrow that won pretty comfortably at York earlier today in a decent enough looking nursery. But that is a handicap 2-year-old, so we won't be getting too carried away. But there is no way on this earth, Pieman, that I could advise anyone to be back in Reach for the Moon at the current 4 to 6 available. Actually, I'm going to do pretty much the opposite. And I'm going to advise my first ever lay bet on doubles and trebles. I think this horse, Reach for the Moon, is significantly more quirky than he's been given credit for so far, or than has been spoken about by the TV or the newspapers so far. This horse veered some way across the track at Newbury last time, and that was without Frankie Dettori even touching him. He literally showed him the whip down the side, and even just the vision of the whip rather than the feel of it made Reach for the Moon veer quite a lot across the track at Newbury, to be fair, possibly about half the track length. So not extreme, but definitely something to note. And like I say, that was without the whip even actually being used. But Reach for the Moon did win that pretty good novice race at Newbury last time that we're talking about by 4 lengths eased down. So he must be all right. But, I think he's worth, he went in my notebook then as a negative. Which there's not many of them. I'm normally a positive kind of guy in the notebook. And he also is start before that in the Chesham at Royal Ascot. He veered in both directions. He was actually hit with the whip on those occasions at Cheshire in the Chesham. Veered left, then he veered right. Actually, possibly could have won that race if he'd have ran in a straight line all the way, and he did not. But let's be honest. Reach for the Moon has been defeated by only 2 horses in his life. One of them's called New Science. that won on King George Day for Godolphin and won really quite well. And one of them was Point Lonsdale, who's by far and away the best 2-year-old out of the Ballydoyle Aidan O'Brien camp this season by some distance. So he's obviously okay, but at 4-6, I think he's worth taking on. And it's one of them. I've often sat here, Pieman, and said I'm happy to take this horse on, I'm happy to take that horse on. And I've picked one against it, and the one I've picked, unfortunately, hasn't done the business, but the one I said was worth taking on was correct and didn't win. So on this occasion, rather than look elsewhere and try and pick you a winner, I'm just going to say lay Reach for the Moon in the region of 1.7, and you'll have 6 horses running for you instead of 1.
Yeah, keep it simple. I mean, look, you make quite a compelling point on the reasons to take it on, and I know you don't want to go down that road. But are there any out of the 6 that sort of stand out to you as the opponents? Or
yeah, well, I backed Austrian Theory last time at Goodwood. That was a bad idea because he didn't win. He finished third in a 6-horse race. Yeah, emptied pretty quickly there, tried to lead. May well try and do the same again. Great Max also ran in the Cheshire, was third. The race in which Reach for the Moon was second. He looks one, and he's talked of by connections as one for next year, possibly. But Great Max is 10-1 in this race, and he finished behind Native Trail, a horse and a form line that we've already talked up last week with Native Trail, because Messicala was a horse I put up that said would win or would go well last week, and it won. So that was behind Native Trail. So that the form of that race is pretty good. Great Max didn't enjoy the Newmarket undulations last time. That was in July. He's going to enjoy the flatter track here at Sandown. Oh, well, it's a stiff track, but it's more straightforward than Newmarket, put it that way. But like I say, rather than putting up Great Max at 10-1, who may well not win, I might as well just lay the favourite, and that's what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm. And if Sod's Law's anything to go by, you can all get on Great Max, because Adam won't be on by the sounds of it. But yeah, Reach for the Moon, the lay for Adam. SD, any thoughts on that? I mean, would you also be against the favourite of the price?
Yes. Look, Adam's alluded to this. He is the most likely winner of the race, but his brother, Chalk Stream, now he has had some success this year, is an absolute head case. Maybe Prince Philip bred them both. I don't know. Austrian Theory is actually rated £1 higher officially than Reach for the Moon, and is 13-2. Now, I don't particularly fancy that thing. Rather than saying, do you know what, I'll lay him and I'll just back the field at 6-4, we'll be a little bit more exotic than that. Cresta won very nicely at Leicester. Now, I'm sure Martin Mead's plump son will talk this thing up, because he talks everything up, and it'll be the next Frankel. But aside from that, they were 6 lengths clear of the third at Leicester. He beat a fairly good yardstick of Charlie Appleby's, who'd won a Newmarket Maiden, a perfectly good Newmarket Maiden as well, by a couple of lengths of time before. That was Cresta's first run. And at 12-1, yes, I think Cresta's worth a very small win bet. I don't argue with somebody laying Reach for the Moon. I don't necessarily argue with people back in Austrian Theory, because I've given you why Austrian Theory has a chance. But at the prices, Cresta interested me at double figures.
Just as we speak then, Austrian Theory is 8-1 at once a player, but that is a bit of an outlier, a general sort of 6-1. 11-2 chance in some places even, so that 8-1 won't last too long. But Cresta, the selection for SD at 12s, and a lay on Reach for the Moon for Adam. We're back over to York, and we'll be back over to USD, because Adam has stressed to me he doesn't have too many strong opinions at York, so I'm hoping you're going to set me on my way with a much bigger field for the Melrose handicap at 225. 22 runners in there currently. There must be some each way value here.
Well, yeah, just a general point about 3-year-old handicappers over 14 furlongs. A lot of these won't stay. They'll be strung out like washing all over the Knavesmire. Now, I'm going to put you one up at 40s. Dr. Parnassus. Now, Dr. Parnassus, 3 runs ago, ran at York, ran the best race of his career at York, and was third. And that race has worked out reasonably well, with the second, Tashkan, even, who's reopposing today on £18 worse terms. So Dr. Parnassus is £18 better off for a length and a half. Now, he's not run that. He ran a stinker at Thirst last time, but he ran perfectly all right the time after at Haydock. And at 46 places, I'm interested, and I will be taking that. There's just one other in the race who I thought was worth putting up as well. Again, look, 16 6 places. Ravenscraig Castle. I was there when this thing won. It didn't beat much, but it will stay. It's almost certainly ahead of the handicapper. And it's as good a chance as anything else. Look, probably about 10 of these could win, but they're the two I'll go at reasonable prices. But my main bet in the race is Dr. Parnassus. He is drawn a bit wide in 20, but at 40 to 1, you know, I'm happy enough.
Yeah, 40 to 1, 6th place is still very much available. Might not be for too much longer. Only still there at a couple of suppliers. A general 33 now. Maybe some people agreeing with Mr. Derbyshire. Silvestre de Souza booked for the ride on that one. Adam, any opinions on this? Any horses you want to mention, or do you just want to move it on?
Yeah, no, I'll mention a couple. What I would say is the amendments to the conditions of the Ebor in the recent years and the prize money that go with it, we're going to come on to that. One of the main features of the new and so-called improved Ebor is that 3-year-olds cannot run in it anymore. So this race, that is a long-standing race on this day, over the same course and distance as the Ebor for 3-year-olds only, has gone from strength to strength because they can't run in the Ebor itself. And, you know, I think every year since that conditions has come in, this has thrown up some big fields. And again, we've got 22 maximum runners here and some good winners. Interesting, the top weight, Aidan O'Brien. There's been a lot of talk about his form or lack of. This will be his first proper handicap runner this year in the UK. And I say proper because he did have a runner in the European Free Handicap that's not really a handicap at the Craven meeting. King of the Castle. And they think it's well handicapped, hence why it's running, I guess. But yeah, King of the Castle may well be popular. Interesting note there that Ryan Moore is not riding. He's elsewhere on Saturday. Don't ask me where. Maybe France, maybe Sandown, maybe Ireland. I don't know. But no, one I would put up, Pieman. Again, won't be an official selection as it is York, but one to keep an eye on. Pleasant Man. He's pretty high in this handicap. He's rated 94. He's better than a 25 to 1 shot. I think he ran pretty well at Royal Ascot. Kept on really quite strongly in a good race at Royal Ascot. At Ascot. It wasn't at the Royal Meeting, I beg your pardon. But ran really quite well at Ascot in July, and then was hampered when going okay at Goodwood a couple of weeks ago. He was only 8 to 1 for a decent handicap there, and he's about 3 times that price today, off £1 lower. So that maybe one to keep an eye on. Pleasant Man.
Pleasant Man, one to keep an eye on. That is a 25 to 1 chance as we speak. 4 places with that supplier at 20. You can have 6 places or 7 places, 18 to 1. So take your pick. And very important to make sure you look around for the place terms here in these huge fields. There really can be quite the variation between supplier to supplier. So do have a good look round. We'll move it on again, and we're going to go back to Sandown for the Atlanta Stakes. 11 runners there. Adam, do you want to start us off, since it's Sandown? I'm presuming you've got an opinion.
Yes, quite a strong one. I do not know why they are persisting with a mile with Indigo Gill. I just simply don't know. I think it's the wrong decision, and I may well be proven wrong. Because we're dealing with champion trainer John Gosden, but I just think it's the wrong decision. This will be a second start this season over a mile. I just don't get it. I mean, I had her down as a soft ground middle distance horse as we turn the year. I think we even spoke about Indigo Gill in our Oaks and Guineas previews way back when, Pieman. She didn't make her reappearance this year until the 23rd of July, where she was in a mile race at Ascot. She was 11 to 8. That is the only genuine lay bet I've had this year in the win market. And she duly went and finished 4th. I was quite happy with myself that day. I thought she was On that day, I thought she was probably unfit over the wrong distance and on the wrong ground type, and I tweeted as much, and she got beat, and I was happy to see it. I've seen nothing to alter my opinion that I think she's a tough ground middle distance horse, and this race in question does neither for her. It's going to be good ground at Sandown. I'm not sure of the weather forecast, but it's currently good, and it's over a mile. I don't think either of those things are to her advantage. I quite like one in this race. It's the second favourite currently, 7-1. Auria. Yeah, I just think she's a cracking bet, 7-1 each way.
Well, I must just interrupt you there. It's very, I mean, there's 4 at a best price of 7-1 in there, so it's a 4-way go for second favouritism in this race.
Right. Well,
not something you don't see a lot.
Auria should be the outright second favourite in this race. So she's had 5 career starts and she's shown better form every time we've seen her. This race has been a clear target for the continuously this season in form Balding Yard since she won on Eclipse Day in early July. I was there at Sandown that day. That was over the same course and distance. I thought she won with a little bit in hand. It was over 2.5 lengths in the end. That was the listed race. The form in behind wouldn't jump off the page as being strong. The likes of Seattle Rock have disappointed at Goodwood since, but the ground's no problem. I just think that Auria, I can't say it right, but I just think she is a filly on the up, and 7-1 each way with the 3 places. You can get 4 places with one supplier, Pieman, but at the moment you have to take a significantly less price. So at the time of writing, if you like, we're 7-1 each way, 3 places, and I do really quite fancy that.
Strongest selection, I would say, so far from Smido, definitely. I'm going to go with Auria, but that may be wrong. We'll go with Auria. 7-1, still around at 3 suppliers. Indigo Girl, doubts over the favourite SD. Would you echo those doubts?
Ish. I think she's the most likely winner of the race. I was terribly keen on Auria either. I'm sorry. I mean, she's got an official rating of 99. Look, I'll go for one with an official rating of 100. I thought Ville De Grace ran a perfectly good race in the Fred Darling first time up. Won first time up last year for Stouty, which is quite unusual, and disappointed at York. Now, rather like me, she might not like York. There's a bit of unfinished business with this one, and if she reproduces that Fred Darling run, she's gonna be bang there. I mean, she was a nose behind Prima Bacco. She was 3 lengths behind Alcohol Free. It all looks pretty good now, doesn't it? I thought 20-1 was too big. Now at Kingscote, could, I presume, have rode Potapova. I don't know, but Kingscote rode Potapova last time. Potapova's 7-1. This thing's 20. I'll back her each way. Now, I know Slybet are 4 places and she's 12-1. What I would probably say to do is Harvey Stakes. So you back her each way now and you just back her at starting price with Slybet. They don't like you doing it. I'll come on to starting price bets in a while, but that's probably the way to play the race. I think she's a very good chance of finishing in the frame, and she may well win. Saffron Beach deserves a mention, but isn't in any sort of form. You can give excuses for those last 2 runs, and certainly on the Nell Gwynn form or the 1,000 Guineas form, she's going to be bang there. Mamora got a very easy lead in the race last year. Walliat won a very weak race at Haydock in what was... it was like Hurricane Katrina. I was soaked to the skin. But no, we'll go with Ville De Grace.
Ville De Grace, 20-1, but as SD was explaining there, do have a look around because Sky have enhanced place terms there. You do have to take a little bit of a hit, but there was a little bit of advice there that hopefully you took on board about potentially waiting for the on-the-day price rather than taking that 12-1 that is currently available with that supplier. But each to their own in that regard. We'll move it on then. Some quite strong selections in that race. Can we follow it up at York? Smido, I'm guessing not, but I will go to you first for the City of York Stakes. Anything you want to say on this race? A Group 2 with 9 runners.
Yeah, well, it brings some different form lines together. In that Primo Bacchio, the 3-year-old, is going to be, going against an all-age company for the first time. You'd have done well to find someone. You'd have done well to predict that by August the 19th, Primo Bacchio would not have won another race following a very, very impressive win at York at the Dante meeting, which is way back in May. She was actually, after that, second favourite for Group 1s like the Coronation Stakes anti-post. She didn't run at Ascot because of the slow ground. She then ran at in the Falmouth Group 1 for fillies at Newmarket that has shown some really very, very strong form, and was a pretty unlucky 1.5 lengths for fifth in that, and then ran at Deauville, no sort of a race really. Met trouble in running and was only beaten 2 lengths there. So she's been a bit unlucky at the top level, and this is the next one down for her, but she's dropping back down to 7 furlongs, which I don't think will be a problem. So Primo Bacchio versus Space Blues. I mean, Space Blues, the veteran almost at this level, although he is only 5, but he's danced every dance at around 6 and 7 furlongs in Group 1s and Group 2s all over Europe and Asia, to be honest with you. Space Blues was 4th. Was he unlucky last time at Goodwood in a race that he won last year, but not this? Or was he just not particularly fit? That was 25 days ago. He can be expected to come on for that with autumn targets like the Foray in mind for Space Blue. So I would possibly have it down between those two. Safe Voyage maybe wants softer ground. Might get it. There's a little bit of rain forecast for York on Saturday. Might not be enough. Glorious Journey continues to just be a stalwart really of the Charlie Appleby yard, and then it's bigger price as the rest. There'll be no fancy from me, but it is a pretty interesting race, particularly between those at the top of the market.
Does look like a little bit of a two-way go, but SD may give us some...
Oh, it's definitely more than that, Pieman. I'm saying it's interesting. The top two in the market are interesting for the reasons given. I know that's an obvious thing to say, but it's definitely not a 2-horse race, this. No way.
If it's not a 2-horse race, then in that case, you do have to be looking beyond those 2 selections. I think there's quite a disparity in the market. I mean, we've got quite a lot of blue around for Space Blues as it goes at the moment. On Odds Checker, getting as short as 11-8, 5-4 in a place there. Primo Bacchio, best price 11-4, general 5-2, and then a big leap up to 15-2, and then it's 11s and bigger the rest. 3 places on offer. SD, where would the each way value be, and who do you fancy out of the top 2?
I don't want to play the race each way, to be quite honest. There's a bit of uncertainty in the weather forecast. I might say to you, Pogo might get a place. Look, I think Space Blues will win. I think he's much the best horse in the race, and I think he should win with his head in his chest. Is he a bet at 5-4 after finishing 4th at Goodwood last time? No. I leave the race alone. I expect Space Blues to win, but that run at Goodwood just slightly tempers him as a bet. And do you know what? There's easier 5-4 shots in novice chases at Newton Abbot and places like that running.
Yeah, and we will get onto that. I'm sure you'll have your chance to go around the UK, but there is just one more race that we have to take a look at. Absolutely have to take a look at. It's the Ebor at York. 24 runners. You spoke about a little bit of uncertainty in the weather forecast, but can you give us your thoughts on this monstrous field, please?
Monstrous place terms, aren't they? I mean, 8 places with slide bet. Good.
That is incredible, to be fair.
Yeah, again, play the SP game. What you can do, and I'll come on to this now. So, slide bet are 8 places each way in the Ebor, and there's 7 places each way in the Melrose. Do you know what? Pick 10 horses in each race and put them on SP doubles, because you've 16. Normally, you would have 16 chances to win. 8 by 7 is 56. The odds are massively in your favour, and you'll do well to lose. So, there's just a bit of advice. Get your missus to pick some if you want. It's a very easy way to make money. They don't like it, but it is permitted. That said, we've not got on to the winner yet. Now, I had to text someone earlier about this. So, the winner of the race is the reserve. Okay. So, I was a bit worried about Rule 4. I understand they cannot apply a Rule 4 if this thing doesn't get in, this Live Your Dream. Live Your Dream will win the Ebor if he gets in. So, just back him now. Let's see what the best price in the village is, and it's 15-2 with Billy Hill, or 7 each way with Sky. To be honest with you, you could back him with Sly, 8 places, 7-1. So he's the first one to go in. I think he's by far and away the most likely winner. He's a really progressive type. He stays. He won nicely last time. If he doesn't get in, the horse he beat, called Global Storm, I thought would be a 10 or 12 to 1 shot when I did the form earlier in the week. Look, he's 20 with Billy Hill, 6 places. I think that's a very good bet. He should run well. And one at a working man's price, if you like, McAwee, we put him up last week, he didn't run. I think that he can run a very, very good race in this. Now, the reason for that is, I alluded to this last week, so I'll not go over it again. He's got a good record in handicaps. He's a very good record at York. He was third at the meeting last year. Okay, he's £4 higher, but he was off 97. He's off 101. He was third at 33s. I mean, there's plenty to like there. William Haggis is sending 4 runners. I'm sure Maureen will be there in a Laura Ashley attire, the worst dressed woman in racing. So, look, obvious contingent. There's the Escobars who's got a chance, but Hamish hasn't run for a long time, and I think he said Hamish earlier in the week he was just a little bit nervous about fast ground for Hamish. So I hope Willie Haggis is listening to this. Willie, pull Hamish out, save him for another day, and let Live Your Dream win the Ebor. There we go.
Am I out of place in asking whether you've taken Live Your Dream at any bigger prices, any fancier prices?
No, I'm not back. The thing is with this race, there's not much point playing anti-post. It's just a general point with these big handicaps. Now, you know, these each way terms are heavily favouring the punter. So I can't play one anti-post unless I think it'll halve in price. Maybe not quite halve, but certainly come in significantly. You've got to bear in mind as well the Betfair win market will have bigger prices. So no, I've not played the race at all anti-post. But I thought Live Your Dream was by far and away the most likely winner. I'm not particularly enamoured by the jockey booking, but I think he's as good a chance as any.
There you go then, Live Your Dream, compelling case, got to get in, should get in, you would think, first reserve, and SD can't see it beat, a very strong opinion. Adam, anything to add on this one? I mean, it's a huge field, we've talked about the each way terms, it's only right that you put something up, surely.
I wouldn't be putting anything up, but I've got a lot to say on the race. I mean, Pieman using the words "Live Your Dream should get in" as his first reserve is pushing it for me. I mean, everything's been declared at 48 hours as normal. It's one of the very few races in the British racing calendar that has reserves, and I think rightly so, given the prize money and significance of this race now. But the weather conditions aren't exactly extreme either way in the next couple of days. So there's, what I'm saying is the weather and ground conditions that the horses have been declared on this morning should be pretty similar, if not the same, come 3:35 on Saturday. So the favourite may well actually not run. But what should be, I think SD touched on it.
Well,
if you do back,
can I just say there is more than there's more than one way to have a non-runner, isn't there? It doesn't necessarily have to be a ground. We've all seen in these big handicaps one get pulled out on the morning for a bit of a sketchy reason.
Yeah, but what I would say is the two trainers and connections of the two reserves, and the other's reserve is Sextant. They've got no one in the top 22 that need to do them a favour. It's not like we're talking about a J.P. McManus horse in some balling robe, maiden novice hurdle or whatever it may be, and they're pulling that horses out for a reserve on purpose. I don't think that's necessary. Since the Ebor has been reconfigured, I think it's in the last 5 years, say, the value of this race is ridiculous in a good way. I mean, I think the total price pot is in the region of £1 million for a handicap, is just amazing, really. And yeah, I had a moan up last week that there was a Class 2 handicap at Ripon, a consolation race, that had a horse as low as 75 in that race in a Class 2 handicap. This is a Class 2 handicap, and if you are rated 100, if you were rated 100 this morning and entered in the Ebor, you did not make it. The lowest rated horse in this handicap is 101, and the highest rated horse is 116. It is mad. It's madness. We've had Duke and Glenn that's had the season of his life. He's been running in group 3s and listed races. He's now horses that have been running. Fajira Prince, for example, ran these last 3 races. Have been in a Group 1, a Group 2, and a Group 3, and now he's down to a handicap. I mean, we've got horses dropping down in grade to race in a handicap. I mean, it sounds almost backwards to me. But can you fault York and Sky Bet for putting the money up to make it such a race? I mean, no, probably not. It's just I struggle to get my head around a lot of the form because, like I say, these horses basically aren't handicappers. The majority of these 22 horses will not be running in handicaps next time and did not run in a handicap last time. They are not handicap horses by definition of their rating, but they're entered in this purely for the prize money. About half of them, I would say, fit that description. I would also point you to this is what they call an early closer race in terms of the handicap. So there's officially 2 horses that are well in at the weights. Tribal Craft is £4 well in, and Away He Goes is £2 well in. And then there's a few horses, maybe 6 or 7, a handful, that are actually badly in at the handicap, but only to £1 or £2. So we won't get caught up in that at the moment. I've not got a clue who wins, and SD's made a good case for the favourite. And should he win, he's sure to go well.
Yeah, some interesting thoughts on that. I would love to hear anyone's thoughts on that particular topic in the chat box, but I do think we are a little bit quiet in there. Although I will say, Joe Wall has asked for your thoughts, gents, on Humanitarian.
SD can answer that one. Humanitarian.
Well, you'd be worried about the absence, wouldn't you? I think that's the first thing. I mean, I can't believe they've not raced him since 18th of September last year. Look, he's a chance, I suppose. But the absence worries me. He won after a break at Newbury, where he beat some half decent horses. I thought they were more likely winners. Just a point, actually. So, Mr. Smith's slate in the consolation race at Ripon. There's a horse rated 70 in the Melrose. So I hope you slate York for that.
No, but that's a 3-year-old. That's a 3-year-old only handicap. The pool of horses is very much smaller. But it's not brilliant. It's not great. I'm not defending it, but that's quite a different race to a sprint handicap at Ripon, open to all ages.
Okay.
Oh. Well, I'll step in there, gents. I think that's enough of that. We don't want to end on a sour note, and we do still have to go around the UK with Mr. Derbyshire. So I believe Newton Abbott are racing on Saturday as well, and I think you might have a fancy or two for us there, maybe.
Well, they've only put one race up earlier, and that's the 3:30. Now, the 3-1 about Literacy was absolutely ridiculous, and they've trimmed it to 15-8. It's not a bet anymore, so no bets at Newton Abbott. But let's go around the country. There's only 2 bets at the other courses. Now, I'll leave the strongest bet to last, but there's a pretty good race at Chelmsford. The less said about that place, the better. After my terrible thing on Sunday, but there's a Class 2 handicap at 8 o'clock at Chelmsford, and there's a horse called Assad. It's not from Syria, it's from Mick Appleby's yard somewhere in Leicestershire. Now, this thing ran really well at Haydock last time, and it was a conditions race, but he gave Mutasabek a race, who was one-time favourite for the Guineas. The handicap has not moved him. He acts well round Chelmsford. There's not a lot of pace in the race. Assad has to go from the front. It's 11-2. It's a bet. So I'd be backing Assad. Blessim's running in that race, by the way. Just a point on Blessim. He needs a straight track and fast ground. So I hope the handicapper drops him. And
SD loves Blessim. Absolutely loves Blessim. One of his all-time favourites.
He's an absolutely brilliant horse. We'll go to Chester. Said nobody ever with a smiling face. Now, there's been a bit of rain about in the northwest today. Depending on what weather app you look at, Chester looks like an absolute drenching on Saturday. It's good at the moment. It could well finish up soft. Now, the bookies haven't cottoned on to this, and this Dancing King is 2-1 with Billy Hill. I mean, that's just a false favourite. I thought the bet in the race was Morando, who usually runs pretty well around Chester. And if that rain comes, he'll not be anywhere near 9-2. I think he'll go off favourite. I'd be that strong. I think the rain will come. If it doesn't, they'll probably run him anyway, and he'd still have a chance. But at 9-2, I'm seriously interested in Morando.
So you'll be doing a rain dance on Saturday by the sounds of it for that one.
Yeah, from York. I mean, I hope everybody at Chester gets drenched.
Yeah, well, that is certainly.
I do want Pieman. I've enabled this.
Oh, you want me to try and get you on the visual, don't you?
Oh yeah, but it's actually gone dark.
Let's see if I can work you out anyway. If you guys can fill some.
Oh, it's a shame. It's a shame, really, because SD, the tightest man I know, has booked himself in. He's got no connection to the local student hairdressers in Manchester, except for that they offer a free haircut, and he sat there for an hour and a half, and that's what it's come up with. I mean, the lack of light in his back garden this evening, Pieman, has actually done him a favour, because it's a shocker. He hadn't had an haircut that short since he was about 14.
Cruel.
That's heaviness.
Cruel. Do you know what? I'm not sure if I have got the capabilities to get you on this video this evening.
Well, unless you can turn the sun on in the northwest, Pieman. I mean, you're good. You are good. But...
I can't actually see him at the moment, but I'm gonna just believe you as I mess around with your camera and ruin the entire broadcast. But no, I mean, do we want to open it up to any general conversation before we shoot? Is there any topics you would like to particularly, SD? I feel like you might have something to vent about.
Well, I'll vent a little bit. I think alcohol-free running in the Judmont shows you why Andrew Baldwin won't win the Trainers' Championship, because that horse should never have run. If you do things out of desperation to win the Trainers' Championship, and I wish Andrew Baldwin well, and I hope he wins the thing, but that was an error. That was an error running the horse. The horse is an out-and-out miler, and should be stuck to that trip. They'll say it was an experiment, but they knew damn well it wouldn't stay, and that's why it was such a big fight.
I 100% agree with alcohol-free, and as you know, I called it beforehand. The alcohol-free should not be running in that race. No way. But is the decision to run horses is ultimately down to the owner. And the owner isn't going for the Trainers' Championship. He may well be supporting Andrew Baldwin.
Well, of course, Jeff Smith's one of the most supported men in racing. You know, he owned Persian Punch and God knows what. So, yes.
He had no chance. But that brings us on to the Judmont, whereby alcohol-free, for some God knows reason, got backed to win that race into 9-2. The fact that alcohol-free was 9-2 third favourite to win that Judmont means to me that, and we're talking at a very, very high standard usually for the Judmont, officially the highest rated race in the world over the last few years. I think it was a below average renewal. Yes, it was visually impressive by Mishriff to win by 6 lengths, but what did he beat? Given that alcohol free was the third favourite at 9-2 and had absolutely no chance of winning due to the trip. I'd not after timing either. I've said this to quite a few people privately. It had no chance of winning. So if the favourite had no chance of winning at the third favourite at 9-2 and no chance of winning, that means to me that the form is questionable.
I'd agree. But I thought Snowfall, she was very good today. And again, I don't know what Mr. Manoussier was doing running that thing. I mean, why couldn't it run in the September Stakes where you know the ground's going to be? Well, you know exactly what the ground's going to be. I just cannot understand them running the thing. And she ran accordingly, didn't she? So just one thing about York form, though, just generally. Arabian Queen, Alpha Delphini, I could go on. These are horses which have won Group 1s round York, and they wouldn't win a Group 3 somewhere else.
Well, and that backs up my long-standing strategy of not betting at York. But what I will say, Pieman, it's the Nunthorpe tomorrow at York, Group 1 over 5 furlongs. We've not mentioned anything at York Friday. But, that's headed of at the head of the market is Wesley Ward's horse, Golden Pal. I had a slightly successful strategy at Ascot of just ignoring the Wesley Ward horses, but I'm going to do a bit of a U-turn. I think Golden Pal will win on Friday. I won't be backing it. It's about 5-2, 2-1. But it's a pretty exciting race with some pretty exciting horses in there. Dragon Symbols in there. Swayzar from France, who won at Goodwood last time. But Golden Pal, I think, will scorch the turf in the Nunthorpe tomorrow.
Is that an official selection?
No, it's not an official selection because I don't bet at York.
Just a little bit of bonus content for the viewers that have stuck around to this.
If I'm not backing a horse, If I'm not backing a horse, I can't put it up as an official selection. Every selection I've ever put on here, I have backed.
It's true.
I won't be backing Golden
It's true
Pal,
for
but
all
I'll be
parties.
looking forward. I'll be looking forward to watching Golden Pal potentially win the number.
Yeah, I just want to run through some comments because we have had something from Brendan and Berkey. Then we're going to wrap it up because we have overrun a tad, to put it lightly. We're nearly double our usual show time. But Brendan Smith asks about the 140 at Chester. Fion with a double F. Any thoughts on that one, SD? I know you've had a look.
I did have a look at the race, and yeah, it's trained by an up and coming trainer in David Loughnane. Yeah, it's a good chance. I thought it was too difficult to tackle, but yeah, Fion's a good chance. It's out of 5. It's got John Egan on. Yeah, I wouldn't argue with it.
No negative there. And Locksong is another name that we've got in the chat. Any insight there?
Locksong. What, the 1994 Stewards, or was it 93 Stewards Cup winner?
Well, we know you do like to recall your historic races, don't you? Have you got anything to touch on there? I've just got one.
With Locksong, she was a great sprint. I think what they're saying is Jeff Smith had Locksong, of course, with Ian Balding. So there's a very long-standing connection there. And Locksong was a great horse. I think Frankie rode it, didn't he? Yeah, she was an absolute, I'm pretty sure it was a she. They bred out of it because he had horses like Lock Angel, who was part of Frankie's Magnificent Seven. Great horse, great memories.
That's lovely to listen to. Always enjoy you recounting races of years gone by. We do have Stephen Burke in there, as Adam has replied to in the chat, talking about alcohol-free, looking like it hadn't got over its last run in the parade ring, was the Whisper. Lee Jones.
Look,
describes
they could give it 2 months off, Pieman. They can run it in the Champion at Ascot, and you're going to get, even on decent ground, you get the same result. The posing doesn't stay. Pull the thing back to a mile, and you might have a chance of the Trainers' Championship. I mean, really, it should run in the Matron, but
yeah. Okay, that's pretty definitive for me. We've wrapped up our main races. We've gone around the UK with SD. We've ran through the comments. Thanks for all you watching. It has been a little bit quiet in the chat tonight, but plenty of live viewers I can see on the graph. Smido, anything to say before I wrap this up?
Yes. Distinguished fan and friend of the channel, Lee Jones, has arrived quite late in the day, Pieman, but he can watch back. Yeah, he can watch back from the start. He said the worst priced horse at the whole of the Ebor meeting is Golden Pal. Mental price, not beating a decent horse. Look, may well be right. I will not be betting at York, and that includes the Numfort. But I just think it's interesting. And Wesley Ward, as he usually does, don't get me wrong, has said that if this horse does not win, it'll be his fault. So he seems to be very confident. But look, this is a race sponsored by the Coolmore boys, and it's a horse owned by the Coolmore boys. And this will be the horse's only second run in the Coolmore colours. I just think it's all there. And they always, I do say ignore them from a betting point of view, the Yanks normally, but they do bring somewhat of a different element to these sprint races. And I think it's always an exciting race to watch, even if you're not betting on it, the number. So I'm looking forward to seeing Golden Pal. That's all.
Just one quick one. Monitor 6:53 at Salisbury tomorrow night in the listed race. Richard Tannen trains it. Massive eye catcher on debut. It'll win 12-1. There you go.
Monitor,
I'll put it in the
12-1. Put that in the description. That's your beers paid for. All if you've managed to, that's your reward for sticking around this long. A little SD gem at the end there that'll pay for your weekend beers. Hopefully, all being well. Thanks to Brendan, Stephen, Lee, Joe, all in the chat, etc. Thanks to all of you silent viewers that I can see on the graph who haven't dropped in a question. Don't be afraid. We don't bite. I would love to hear from you in future weeks. We'll be back again same time next week. There's a Mike Holden interview coming up on the channel. There's also a potential ARC anti-post update coming on the channel in the coming days. So do keep switched on. It's been a pleasure to have you all in, and we'll speak to you again very soon. Cheers for watching.
Good evening. Off?
Yeah, good that.
Yeah. Cheers, fellas.
No problem. Did you like Maureen Haggis, the worst dressed woman in the race?
I did, yeah. If you watch the replay, you'll see the laughs.
You said that. I'll give you the quotes from SD.